Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PlayStation GL Premier Sim Gaming Leagues, PSGL here, round 7 of the season. 6 races gone, 6 to go in F3, and it is just starting to look like a 2-horse race at the top of the championship. But will we be able to see someone else manage to get their way in here? Round number 7, the Russian Grand Prix around the Sochi Autodrome. Who will be going for gold, and who will find their flame getting extinguished around this track on the edge of the Sochi Olympic Park? My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me once again is Sam Thompson. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you very much. And this evening is going to be a really exciting race. It's the start to the second half of this PSGL season, and as you just said, really, it's a 2-horse battle race between M Short 17 and Lakitu 886, and I think it's going to be a really interesting tonight. I think the interesting one is BRT Faz, otherwise known as Alpha Faz, now is back as well this evening. Hasn't been out here for the last couple of rounds. We'll be interested to see how that teamwork would work between him and Lakitu tonight. And also, I'm wondering how Lakitu will do. He's had a very good form to start off with, and M Short obviously still holding a good consistent form, but maybe there is some sort of spanner in the works going on, because Lakitu is really starting to catch up on the pace. So again, tonight I think will be a really interesting one, and it's a make or break one for loads of different drivers in this tier.
Yes, definitely. We said halfway through the season, and M Short and Lakitu have shared all the victories at this moment in time. You can just see the calendars that we've had so far. M Short taking victories in Australia, Britain, France, and last time out in Italy, but it was Belgium and Monaco where Lakitu took the wins, and last time out was actually the first time that they've shared the podium together, with a win for M Short. Lakitu finished in second. VRT Compassion, or Shizukorne as he is now known, crossed the line in third position, but he got a 5-second penalty, and with how close the race was, that bumped him down to 8th position. So Shapalele claimed his first podium of the year. It was a really close race last time around. Hopefully we'll get something similar here.
Yeah, I think it will be a very close race. I haven't really seen many close races at this track. This is one of the tracks that seems to be a little bit more of a breather sort of circuit, if you'd so call it that. Of course, probably in real life is one of the worst circuits on the calendar. But on the game, there does tend to be a lot more better action. And we're all in for the battles, aren't we? They're all in for the close racing. Because these cars are equal, it's obviously going to be much easier to follow. And I think there is a possibility for some good racing here.
Yeah, hopefully we will get to see some good racing then. We appear to have a few issues with the streamers decided that it doesn't fancy popping up, so apologies for that. I will try to fix it as quickly as possible. Just going back to last race, though, so much, it was so close as we'd expect of it. Italy with the DRS change. Russia is another one of those circuits where in real life you don't really see exciting races, but on the game so much tends to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely one of these tracks that is very opposing to its real life self. And again, I go back to the fact that we're in equal cars, and also the driver's performance as well is so much closer here to real life, as I think Gonanen has actually lost a bit of the end plate there. I think he's accidentally clipped the wall on mistake, a lapse of concentration there. But this is definitely a track that provides some interesting racing, and interestingly, it can be good or it can be bad. There's not many overtaking spots, but definitely drivers are probably much more closer, so more overtaking is more likely going to happen here.
Yeah, definitely. 2 DRS zones, 1 on the run down towards turn 2, and it's a unique sort of track. It's not a long run to turn 1, but that is just a flat out corner. We have seen sometimes drivers start squeezing together on that run towards turn 1, and it can cause issues.
Yeah, and I think I suffered an issue yesterday. A little bit of a squabble in front of me, and left 2 guys spun around someone in the wall as well, and that's down to turn 2. So obviously the first braking zone is that second corner, but the first corner is very awkward to go through, since everyone is really turning at high speed and probably at different points as well, and some people perhaps don't even recognize that someone's on their inside sometimes because you're so overwhelmed with cars beside you. So I think these guys will all get through cleanly because these guys know what they're doing, but really it does have that sort of unpredictability, and it does have that chance to perhaps have someone be a little bit silly and forget there's someone on their inside and end up clattering into the wall. We remember for Belgium in, I believe, 1997, where there was a massive pile-up. I think that is genuinely possible through that first corner if people aren't careful, but yeah, again, it's very unlikely.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully then we won't see any pile-ups. It looks like, hopefully we have got the technical issues sorted. We've just got Lakitu then coming along down this long run towards turn 12. A very tricky braking zone, especially for these drivers, because they're not allowed to run any assists, obviously, apart from the racing line. And you've seen that turning and steering can cause some problems. I think it was Carlos Sainz in 2015, one of the first races around this circuit, where they had that issue. And amazing fact about this track is there has been, I think now 7 real F1 Russian Grand Prix in Formula 1 World Championship since 2014. There were 2 in the 1910s, and Mercedes have won every single one of them. They are on a 107-year streak, I think, of winning races around here. So if that carries on, maybe Cedric and Joey will be able to put in a good performance. We'll have to wait and see. We've now got M Short, our championship leader, heading towards the finish line. Let's see what sorts of time he can do then in the McLaren 5th place at the moment. And as we'd expect, so close at the top. We have got the top 5 separated less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, very, very close at the moment. Chapelele still yet. He's the next one really to cross the line, I think. Everyone else is either on an in-lap or out-lap. I'm not sure if anyone who's doing 1 lap will set a lap. Sedbet, I believe, has done there. So he goes 10th place at the moment. Nothing spectacular. Chapelele really raking his car through the corners. These 90-degree corners are actually a bit of a nightmare. The second to last one of them is a bit of a nightmare as it goes uphill and you seem to lose a lot of traction. But through the final corner, Chapelele goes 5th place, just behind VRT Pat, his fellow German driver.
Yes, not a bad lap then from Chapelele. He'll be feeling good last time out. Like we've already mentioned the incident you had with Compassion, and that was the only one that happened. There was Lars trying to get a penalty removed, but as he didn't have the race director, he wasn't able to. So that is a lesson for all of the drivers there. If you don't save your race director, you don't save the race results, you're not going to be able to get the penalty removed. Ferrari, well, the drivers had very differing qualifyings and then very differing races as well. Benny qualified on pole position. The German ended up finishing a long way down the order. I think it was 14th position in the end from pole position. He's been on pole twice this year, and on neither occasion he's finished in the top 5. Suggests that he's very quick over 1 lap, just maybe the setups aren't ideal for the races.
Yeah, and there are those drivers who do tend to actually just be all qualifying pace but no talk in the race. But I guess that isn't the case, but I guess the setup is probably the likely factor in the race. But I believe there was someone, I can't remember who it was last week, but someone in the race was just really struggling to keep it on the road and dropped back like several positions. I wonder if that was actually Benny, I think. I'm not 100% sure who it was, I can't remember, but someone was slipping down positions so quickly, and I wonder if the tyre pressure is to do with that, because over 1 lap, it doesn't really affect the car, but over a race distance, it really will as Gonnanan spins his car. He had invalidated his lap anyway, but yeah, not good show from him again at the moment. Not set a lap time just yet, and that's the 2nd lap bottled as well, so he has to get a move on and get a lap time in. But back to Benny, I don't really know what's going on at the moment. I think he's just going through a little bit of a dark spell, and I'm sure he'll pick it up sooner on in the season.
Yeah, he has invalidated this lap as well. As a Cedric, Dynastics hasn't, though. He's kept it nice and clean for now. And as I say that, he does run wide. And that is a common feature on this circuit, because the way the track is laid out, very 90-degree tight corners, lots of tarmac runoff area. Sometimes you do see quite a few penalties, and it looks like this qualifying session is no different.
Yeah, this track is probably a nemesis for penalties, and a lot of drivers have said that, you know, they pick up loads of penalties, and this is one of the tracks that they are infuriated by it. Of course, turn 2, that tricky little section to get it out right and not invalidate is quite difficult. You've got other corners later on. I think going wide at some corners is very easy to do here, which obviously causes you to get invalidations. And through that 3rd sector, the last 2 corners especially, you can easily get an invalidation by going a little bit wide there, or even catching it a little bit inside, which is quite rare, but it happens. So really, this is not a track that drivers favour, not only just because of its nature, but because of the easy amount of penalties it is. But also what it does do is it leaks opportunity for drivers who are clean to actually put in a really good performance.
Yeah, we might see a really good performance now then from VRT Pat in the Williams. Hasn't had the best of season so far, but this qualifying Does seem to be going very well for him indeed. You've seen him there going flat out through turn 1, heading towards the awkward braking zone for turn 2. Just locks up ever so slightly. It is very easy to run wide there. The long left-hander all the way through turn 3 now, hugging that inside line to make sure you've got the best possible line as you come into turn 4 and you start to head towards the end of the first sector, which comes just before the braking zone for turn 5. Easily and early on the throttle just to get the best possible acceleration. You've got the slight king at turn 6 and then turn 7. Quite a deceptive corner. You can take it faster than you would think. Turn 8, watch out for that curve on the inside. It can throw your car completely up in the air. He's kept it careful through 9 as well. Turn 10, another crucial corner to get a good exit on as it leads on to this second DRS. We say it's a straight. It has got this long curve in 11 and then through to turn 12 before you head to the braking zone for turn 13, just before the 100 metre ball. And then this is the final sector, all pretty much 90-degree corners to end the lap. Through turn 14, turn 15, very awkward as it goes off camber. Easy to run wide there. Got to be careful though that you keep your momentum up through turn 16. Pit lane entry on the right hand side, an exceedingly long pit lane around here. Turn 17 and then through turn 18. If you run wide here, you'll manage to win 2 laps in one go. Pat keeps it clean though. A 129.376. Very good performance from the Williams driver. And Williams are starting to bump their way up in the Constructors' Championship. We've got McLaren on top at the moment with 83, Renault 64, Red Bull, Mercedes, Racing Point, AlphaTauri, Ferrari, Haas, Williams and Alfa Romeo. But Williams did move off the bottom spot last time out with Boss scoring points. And judging by how high Pat's doing at the moment, he's got a very good chance of getting a good result here tonight.
Yeah, it's a very, very good lap he put together. The first and second sector he was up, and he was down a little bit in the third sector. Of course, he came home for 2 tenths up, but he was 3 tenths up in the second sector. And Pat knows where probably he can make time in that third sector, but that was almost a perfect lap in my opinion. If he had just made a little bit more time in that third sector, he could have been looking at a high 28. And for this early on to be setting almost that time is pretty impressive for the F3 tier. And I believe it's still not beat the qualifying whole time from F7, which is my tier yesterday, which is a 29.2. So I'm kind of surprised at that, but that just shows like how good that lap time was. But these guys, I reckon, will get that in the end. But a lot of invalidation, so a lot of people pushing, which may have just stopped them doing that.
Yes, indeed. Gonanainen got pole at Monaco. Drive-through penalty really ruining any chances of a good result for him. Let's see what he can do on his first run. Only 5 minutes 40 seconds remaining in the session, and it is Pat, Louis and Joey, and he's just got it wrong through one of the final corners. Would have only been good enough anyway for 12th position. But that is how easy it is to make a mistake around this circuit. And our 2 championship contenders, or our main ones we should say, M Shorts and Lakitu, are currently in 7th and 9th. The man who's 3rd in the championship at the moment is Zach, and he's no longer taking part. So Cedric in a net 3rd place at the moment. He's down in 18. There's a big chance for a few of these drivers to maybe move their way up through the order. It's still half the season to go. Still obviously the championship up for grabs. Outside of M Short and Lakitu, who do you think is going to be the one most likely to challenge those 2?
Well, ironically, Cedric goes up to 2nd place, so I think that's a good showing from Cedric. He'll be happy with that lap time, but I think there's been a lot of unfortune from the AlphaTauri Chapelele this season. He has shown to be quick in the early rounds. Lately, probably not so much, excluding perhaps Italy, which he's done well, but he's up there again in 6th, ahead of M Short and Lakitu in 8th and 10th, and Cedric up to 2nd, it will give him good confidence. If these two get a poor result, M Short and Lakitu, and he gets something like 1st or 2nd, I think he'll be quite confident going into the second half of the season, maybe to catch up with these two. But I look at Pat as well at the moment. Pat, brilliant qualifying at the moment, seems to be almost unbeatable for now, but I expect that to probably go down a little bit further later on in qualifying. He's down in 22nd at the moment. He's only got 3 points, but this is good redemption for him. And if he can put in a good performance like he has been trying to do, but has got a little bit of misfortune in most of his races, I really do think he can get himself right back in it, right back up there. Because if he does make a performance, this is theoretical. This is not adding anyone else's points. If he does win today, he actually has the potential to go all the way up to 7th place in the championship. So that just shows how close that midfield is alone, really, at this stage. And Lakitu and M-Short are just flown away with it, but this is a chance for Cedric or potentially Lars if Lars starts to put the times on together, because down at 16th not going to get you anywhere. If he does get the times together, it does give them the opportunity to perhaps come back in the front two, who at the moment aren't particularly doing great in qualifying either.
No, and that's one reason why the championship's so close. I've just looked. The only 3 drivers so far this season who've had multiple podiums is obviously our top 2, M-Shot and Lakitu, and Zach. So now that he's not there, we've also had Cedric on the podium, Lars, Louis, Benny, Chapalele last time out, Ferreira's had a podium, Name Changer, who's now left. Simon's got one as a reserve. We've had Compassion could have got one last week if it wasn't for a penalty. It's been so close for that midfield. The tiers are so close here at PSGL, it's perhaps not too surprising that is the case. What can Black Phoenix do then? His last 2 races, he's just missed out on the points, finishing in 11th place. McLaren still just at the top of the championship though at the moment. And what sort of lap is this? Well, that's not a bad lap whatsoever from the McLaren driver. Puts him up into first place, just ahead of Pat, first man into the 129.2s. That's probably qualifying over for the McLaren.
Yeah, I was just about to say, unfortunately though, that will probably be his final lap, and because of that, he's left himself rather exposed, because really this is one of the tracks where the track evolution is massive, and because on this game track evolution exists, towards the end of qualifying, I expect these lap times to go down so much that we will probably be finding ourselves another 2 tenths for most of the drivers here. And I mean, yesterday I think it was the same sort of thing for me, but that's a bit different. I think this is awkward for Joey right now. Joey coming into the second corner, said that was a little bit awkward there, but yeah, this is what it is for the drivers who can get out latest now, and I think Black Phoenix has rather left himself exposed, and although he's on pole position for now, I reckon he'll be quite high with that lap time, but I don't think he'll be pole position.
No, we'll see if anyone else can beat him. Joey, 700ths up at the moment. Doesn't sound like a lot. That would already be enough to get him ahead of Louis, and if he can get 700ths in the rest of the sectors as well, it would get himself up into the front row of the grid. Just goes over that turn 8 curve though too much, invalidates his lap. We'll have to see if he does another lap, because one thing we haven't mentioned around this circuit, it's not really tyre wear heavy. It is a straightforward one-stop, soft to the mediums. And if there's a safety car on lap 1, you can put the hards on and go all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I think mediums can go to the end as well from the end. I think softs can go to the end from lap 10 or something. I did it for lap 10 and they were on 70s. They were in the late 70s% on one side. That was the front left. Sorry, the rear left, not the front left. So they can definitely make it to the end, but you put yourself in puncture territory if you go to the softs to the end. But the mediums should most certainly make it quite far, I have to say. So really, I would expect these drivers, if they are doing, if it is a safety car on I suppose lap 1 or something, the hards will definitely go to the end. I think the mediums can go to the end. I'm not 100% sure. And if they were to go medium soft, then they would have to have a safety car around lap 10-ish time, as Chapalele's day is done. He's binned it in the wall, so he won't be improving.
No, he might be hoping that he actually gets knocked down a place outside of that top 10 to get that free choice of tyres, of course. Checkered flag is out. Compassion comes across the line. Great lap from him. Gets himself up into 3rd place. Next man is going to be M-Short, our championship leader in the McLaren. Why are we even surprised? 129.218 takes provisional pole position at the moment. Pat is not improving. He was a 10th down through the middle sector, so this is going to have to be a mighty end to the lap from Pat. It was indeed. Just not enough though. Ends up going up into 3rd place. Cedric now coming around the final 2 corners. He's down at this moment in time. I think he's got Louis or Falk not too far behind him. Cedric goes into 4th place. It was Falk just behind. He goes into 17th. Now comes Louis, the Frenchman, in the Red Bull. What sort of time can he do? Can he bump himself up the order? And then it's for 2 Reynolds, not too far behind either. Louis then gets it wrong through the final corner. Does go up into 5th place though, so that's going to be interesting if anyone spotted that. Lakitu now gets knocked down 1 place by his teammate, so Faz goes up into 7th. Joey is 8th. Lakitu ends up relegating his teammate back down, so Lakitu now in 8th place. As Simon goes fastest 129.126 for Simon. So many cars leaving it very late in this session. Benny comes across the line, can only get himself up into 10th place. I don't think anyone else is on the lap at this moment in time, but a fantastic lap from our reserve at the death there. URL Simon takes pole position.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was going to say, watch out for Simon. He was 3 tenths up going through into the third sector. It was a brilliant lap put together from the Alfa Romeo driver and the reserve right now. And he's put it on pole here by almost a tenth. That's a brilliant lap. We've seen how close the grid is. 5 tenths between the top 15. And we have to remind ourselves that I don't think Shafalele put in actually a final lap either. So that just shows how close the grid actually is. And between all of them, I mean, 9 tenths difference. And this is one of the tracks that actually has a big skill gap because it's obviously not a track that's fond for everyone. Some people play this track a lot more than what others do. There's some people who love it and there's some people who hate it. So I'm very surprised with how close the grid is, but again, I'm not surprised because it's PSGL. So I think it's going to be a very entertaining race, this one, and I think the Keto would be a little bit disappointed with where he's at compared to his championship rival at the moment.
Oh yes, I think he might be indeed. But we have our 6th different pole sitter of the season. Out of 7 races so far. URL Selman takes pole position. M Shaw is second with his teammate just behind him with that long run to the first braking zone in turn 2. Being in second place might not be the worst thing. Pat, Cedric, Louis, Zhu Cornet, Lakitu, Alpha Faz and Bernie Traeger round out the top 10. Joey invalidated his lap, but he has a free choice of tyres in 11th, as does Boss, Lars, Sebvet, Shapalele, Girassi, Falk, Dynastics and Gonanainen, failing to set a time in that session. Everyone who set a time was within a second of each other. We are in for a cracking race here.
Yeah, and I wonder if there might be rain because a lot of them went and did a lot of soft tyre runs as well. So I'm curious to see if that, and I was a little bit underwhelmed that no one got into the 28s and I was expecting it. No rain, a little bit cloudy though, so it does suggest that there's potential for rain, but we're not starting with rain. Of course, as we can see, but I'm very intrigued to see what the strategies are here because I know the soft tyres can go a long distance. However, the chance of a safety car at this track early on is quite high, so I'll be very interested to see what the tyre strategies are going to be.
Yes, I think in F11 we had a virtual safety car but I'd not even made it to turn 2. Yeah, something had happened early on. And we are going to see a lot of slipstreaming here. You're going to have to get a good start if you're Simon, because otherwise you could see like Phoenix get past you, who's in 3rd place, obviously his teammate as well, and some of those others can easily swamp you towards turn 2, which is a very difficult corner to get right.
Yeah, and because it's a long run, it takes a long while to get there, and if you do get a poor start and everything and you cannot counteract it, this is what is going to be, for Simon, the pressure on, I suppose. I don't think he's ever been near a pole position really so far, and obviously this is his first pole position of the season, and you've got people who have had that experience of pole position, such as Benny, Shafalele, Cedric and Emshaw, and now obviously Simon. I think I may have missed someone there. Oh yeah, Gonanainen. So really, and yeah, I just want to say it is an Alfa Romeo sandwich before I continue, but the pressure is on for him because it's such a long corner. Unlike tracks like Monaco, for example, where Gonanainen actually got a good start, it's a short run, so you're not going to lose too much time, and it's also very tight. And because it's very tight, no one's really going to get by. Unfortunately, we know why he lost the race. It was because of his own mistake later on under a VSC, I believe, where he got a drive-through penalty. But because of the long run, this is really going to be about how Simon gets up the line compared to M-Short. And because M-Short's got that the bags of confidence that M-Short will have going into this race, because he's leading the championship quite confidently, and he's confidently ahead of Lakitu, and obviously he's had experience being near the front, obviously getting a pole position and 4 race wins. The confidence is there, basically. He'll be looking to get past Simon as soon as possible, with his teammate there to aid him as well. If he doesn't get by, I'm sure those two McLarens will work together to gang up on Simon, if Black Phoenix, of course, gets a good run as well. So, similar to Mexico, it's all about who really gets the best start.
Yes, I'm sure Simon will be hoping to get the best start around this track. 5.848 kilometres 18 corners with 2 DRS zones, 1 into turn 2, 1 into turn 13. Quite a flat track as well, but you do have a few of those off-camber corners. These are the tyres that everyone will be starting this race on. Grassy and Falk clearly going for the softs. They want to just get their way through the field as quickly as possible. And with that long run down to turn 2, the soft tyres could be an advantage.
Yeah, tyres definitely can be an advantage. Here we saw, obviously, in Italy, the key to was a particular one, and we wanted to talk about tyre advantage. This track is very easy to get stuck behind someone ahead of you, and I tell you what, I had a lot of struggle with my engine temperatures. My engine temperatures went up much higher. I think also my tyre temps were perhaps a bit of an issue as well. I was stuck at the back of a train and I couldn't get by because someone ahead of me was on the same soft tyres, and above them was medium tyre drivers, and they just couldn't get by. So they were all stuck in the dirty air. I was stuck in even more dirty air, so I couldn't get the straight line speed because my engine was too worn, and you know the tyres were just getting also much worn.
Yeah, being in free air can help a lot around here. Getting a good start is going to be very useful indeed. We've got 5 lights here in Russia. The Sochi race is underway. What are the starts like? It looks like a pretty decent start from M Short. He's already going to be alongside Simon on the run down towards turn 2 here. You've got Pat trying to get his way involved, and he's going to try and find a gap in the middle of the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo here. But M Short looks to have the inside line in the lead of this race. Simon trying to go all the way around the outside. He's going to get himself a warning for that. He tries to go around the bollard and in the end doesn't really decide to. And oh, big contact. I think Simon came back onto track there, and Pat was sort of just in the way, obviously, taking the race in line. Simon's got big front wing damage, a disastrous start from him, and Pat's had a good exit actually coming through turn 4 while all that was happening. So it's Pat in the lead of this race as they exit sector 1 then. M Short is second, Black Phoenix is third, Cornet fourth, Lewis, Cedric, Kitu, Faz, Joey and Boss. At the moment, we'll just have a quick look at what the position changes are in all of that happening. 6 places gained for Falk on those soft tyres. Other big winners, Pat and Cornet, 18 places lost for Simon. A bit of a disastrous start as Lars is trying to now work his way up the order, gets himself ahead of Seb Fett on those medium tyres. Joey looking good, as well as the lead car on those mediums at the moment, but he's got Boss all over the back of him. Louis trying to go down the inside into turn 13 on the racing point of Cornet. Is he going to be able to make that move stick? Is he going to be able to go all the way around the outside? Can he hold it off for this corner? This is going to be very difficult indeed. We've got Cedric trying to get involved as well there, and in the end the Red Bull losing out to the Mercedes. Is he going to lose out? He is going to have to yield that position. Boss and Falk battling as well. Dream start though from Pat, and Simon just tried to hold it off around the outside, and then when he came out onto the circuit, that gap was always going to close. Pat wasn't expecting him to be there, and it looks like they made contact.
Yeah, I was looking on board from Pat. I was looking from behind. It's quite a difficult one because when you re-enter the circuit at that corner, it's so difficult really to tell where anyone is. You've got so many different proximity arrows to your left and to your right. You probably just don't really have full control of who's behind you, really. So I don't really know whose fault that would be, but there's a bit of an interesting thing from Pat, I suppose, but I don't really know who to blame for that one. It's such a tricky corner, and with Pat with the momentum as well, I'm sure he would have been just focusing ahead. He wouldn't have thought about behind because he would have thought that Simon wasn't there, and I think because of that, it's a very difficult one to steward. It just depends really what is said from both sides of the camp, and Simon already probably not enjoying himself onto the hard tyres. He already has a penalty as well, so really not a good day for the Alfa Romeo driver there. But one thing I wouldn't have expected really on the first lap was a 3-wide battle through sector 3. These corners are very tricky to go 2 wide, let alone 3 wide, and they all did it. They did it safely, and it looked like everyone got away unscathed. So brilliant racing from those guys, being Cornet, Cedric and Louis. Brilliant driving between all 3 of them, and I'm very interested to see now what Pat can do from the lead now that the DRS is open with such long straights in this circuit.
Yes, he has set the fastest lap of the race. Boss has also managed to pick himself up a penalty as well, and that's for multiple warnings. That is very early to be picking up those. If he doesn't tidy it up a bit, he might even be at risk of getting disqualified by the end of this race. DRS is now enabled, and you've got this huge DRS train. Everyone apart from Simon is part of it at the moment. That is going to be really frustrating for some of those further back. Boss and Benny having a battle there. In fact, I think Boss might have actually ran wide at turn 2 and has had to give up that position. So that is now the Ferrari up into 11th on those soft tyres, of course, trying to work his way up through the field after actually starting in the top 10 and not having the best of starts. Dynastics has made a mistake somewhere, and that's allowed Seb Vett to get ahead, and Gonanen as well. Both Alfa Romeos are currently bottom of the Constructors' Championship. They're 17th and 19th in this race. It is not going well whatsoever. Falk's an interesting one. He's currently in 10th place, but he did start on a fresh set of the soft tyres, so he's going to want to work his way past Joey pretty quickly. And as I say that, he's had a massive oversteer moment coming through turn 11. Thankfully for him, he's got the DRS just to help him defend from behind.
Yeah, we've got an absolutely massive DRS train. This is something that we don't particularly like to see. Cedric, if he can hold on to it, I believe it's now the whole field excluding Simon that's in a DRS train. So right now, overtaking action is going to be very, very limited for now until we get those gaps that more or less a mistake is made, like Boss has done, and now TTG Garassi goes past Boss. And what happened to Boss on the previous lap? He just missed the braking point and almost went into the back of one of the Red Bulls, being Falk, I believe, and obviously went wide and came back onto the track just behind Benny with just enough to go on for a fight. But probably not the best day for IGK Boss. He's down in 13th place. He's definitely braking later, so he knows where the braking zone is, well, to brake later anyway. But not a very good start really for him, as he's dropped down quite a lot of positions now, perhaps a bit too confident going into this early on, and perhaps made a few mistakes. Joey is the highest medium runner right now. He's in 9th place. He'll be quite satisfied with what's going on right now, because he just has to stick in the DRS. That's all what he needs to do, and then he's on for a really good position later on in the race. But there's not too much difference between the soft and medium tyres, I've noticed at this track, and the duration of those soft tyres as well is quite high. So I'm very curious to see exactly what goes on for Joey in this race.
Yes, we are probably now at the point, if there was a safety car on this lap, you'd see everyone from the soft tyres go into the mediums. Those that started on the mediums, because you have to use 2 different types of dry weather tyre in a full dry race, and the clouds look to have parted here at Sochi, so I'll be very surprised if we get any rain. They'd have to pit onto a set of softs or hard tyres, and then obviously if you pit onto the softs, you've got to pit again. You pit onto the hards, you will be slower. But Joey just hanging onto the back of those 2 Renaults at the moment, and that should get easier with every lap as the mediums start to find their feet, and as the old soft tyres, let's not forget the top 10 had to set their qualifying time on these tyres. That should just get slightly easier. Further up the field, Black Phoenix looking as though he's just closing up to the back of his teammate ever so slightly. Shown some good performances last year in F3, hasn't quite had the same look at the moment for various reasons, sometimes getting involved in incidents. It's still very early days, but he's putting up a really good performance at the moment.
Sorry, I was concentrating on something else quickly there because something just happened, so I kind of wasn't listening. That's my fault though, but anyway, yeah, who are we on about? I just want to know, sorry.
Black Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, good performance from him at the moment. I do apologise for that, that's probably my fault. But there was just some important message that came up that I just needed to quickly read. But a good performance from the McLaren team at the moment, but particularly Black Phoenix. We haven't seen much of him this season, and I think he'd be rather satisfied where he is right now. He's in the championship, he's in 13th at the moment, and he's been having a bit of up and down performances, and as recent hasn't really had the good performances, but now that he's on the podium, I think he really is doing pretty well at the moment. And this is a track where if you're clean, you're going to get good performance. So I'm not sure how many warnings he has at the moment, but he looks like he's having a pretty clean race, just sitting in the DRS of his teammate, and his teammate probably is doing a good job as well by sticking in the DRS of Pat to make sure there's no teammate complications. So at the moment, I think Black Phoenix is rather enjoying his position, but he's definitely got to watch out. If he doesn't get a good exit, we know obviously how much Cornet can, I've got to really get used to that, Cornet can brake later, as we saw in Monza. He brakes so much later than his than the drivers in front, and that seems the case here. He brakes well later than Black Phoenix there, for example. So you've got to watch out, because he definitely will dive it if he's close enough.
Yeah, he will indeed, and we have seen him move further back. Boss has just dropped outside of DRS range, and Lars has spent no time hanging around in the other racing point, so he's now up into 13th. He's got to try and get his way up onto the back of Gavassi, and with all those drivers ahead now having DRS, as Boss picks up another time penalty. That is 6 seconds, and It's not like Boss is not a bad driver. He's a reserve for the Challenger Series. He is a seriously quick individual. Just doesn't seem to be going well for him at this moment in time. We have got some really top talents here, and Shapalele in 15th place at the moment. Can he work his way up the order? Can he go for that alternate strategy? It's going to be a big ask, though, to get onto the podium to match his exploits last time around at Monza. Back towards the leader of the race, though. It is still Pat at the moment. Still looking pretty steady. About half a second in the lead as he heads into braking zone for 13th from 14 without any DRS. And it's too early to see an undercut yet because of how well these soft tyres last. But if we get to about lap 9, lap 10, I imagine some of these at the back of this train that are on the soft tyres are going to think about coming in, putting the mediums on, getting in free air, and maybe making a jump.
Yeah, most certainly. I don't think Simon's day is really going to be anything better because the pit lane definitely isn't 33 seconds on, but that's because he had a big moment at the back, of course. But I think what's really interesting is to see what the strategies is here. I'm not sure if the undercut or the overcut is more powerful here. Because the tyre's durability, you would actually probably expect the overcut to be better. It just depends how late these guys actually do pit, but the soft tyres can last so long at this track. They can last to around lap 17 before any lap 15 before any issue, so they can last really long here. And if someone does try and go to lap 15, I'm sure they wouldn't really make up much ground because at that point it would be too late for an overcut. But if someone was to pit now to try and do the undercut, I don't think it would work because of the durability. So it's a strange one, and I'm interested to see when people actually do start to come in onto the medium tyres.
Yeah, I think we're still a few laps away from that point, but we're going to have to start thinking about doing something different because we haven't seen many moves up at the top of the field at the moment. DRS trains in dirty air just proving to be too much to overcome as M Short closes in on the braking zone. Then as soon as he gets stuck behind through these slower corners, tyres start overheating. You lose that performance, the aerodynamic performance, because you're not getting any clean air over your wings. And you do just start to struggle, and as Sam mentioned earlier, you might even have engine overheating problems, so using a DRS and pushing the engine as hard as possible in rich mix will not be as effective. Two Renaults look as though they're getting pretty close together, as we have seen an early pit stop. Louis has come in at the end of lap 7. He's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This is a lot earlier than I was expecting, but he clearly thinks he's fed up with being in the train and it's worth a risk.
Yeah, I guess it kind of could be worth the risk, to be honest. And look at the two Renaults getting very close together. And Faz giving his teammate a squeeze, and they've changed position now. And I wonder if he's still going to continue battling through this long left-hander. And they have done it. And I think the Kitu's got out ahead. Is Faz going to come back at him? No, he's not. Oh wait, no, Faz is ahead. I thought the Kitu got ahead of him. Then no, he didn't. But Faz is ahead now of Lakitu. So. Oh, there's a little bit of a shunt in the back there from Joey. We didn't want that, to be honest. But anyway, back to what we were actually talking about. Louis getting a penalty there. I think he may have just forgot that it's 37 mile an hour, and he perhaps thought it was 50 mile an hour. So he didn't brake late. He broke too late. I wonder, but interesting strategy really, because he is in clean air now, and he has got the availability to push really. Number one, but the problem is because guys are in a DRS train and everything, and the tyres are still in probably good condition. Like, we haven't seen Joey be able to make up moves. He's definitely in that train, but the thing is, because obviously how big that train is, he's able to stay there. So it's not really relevant data, but look at Shapalele. He'd be a good one. Shapalele or Lars. They've lost a lot of time, but they're starting to close in a little bit to those guys on the soft tyres, so it's starting to be a little bit of a crossover point. So I'm curious to see how many people try and do the overcut and how many people do the undercut. But the leaders have come in now because M Short and Pat has. The leader now is Black Phoenix, followed by Fast. So a lot of the soft tyre drivers have come in, so only 2 to go. Yes,
Pat did get himself a speeding penalty as well in the pit lane there. I'm not quite sure if anyone else did. Boss has retired from the race, so there's about 5 seconds to go for the Williams team. That's definitely got to be up there. Black Phoenix now, though, leading the race. Alpha Faz in second. On paper, probably one of the favourites at the start of the season. Various reasons mean he's only been able to do 3 races so far this season and has only scored 5 points, but he wasn't really deferring to his teammates in all that action that was going off there. And you can actually just see the power of the undercut. Louis is now ahead of M Short. You can only imagine, therefore, he'll be ahead of Black Phoenix as well. Not too far behind Pat, but they have both got those pit lane speeding penalties. with these DRS trains, it's going to be extremely difficult to pull a 5-second gap on the cars behind.
I didn't expect that, to be honest. I was expecting actually Louis to come out way behind these guys. I'd expect because of the durability of the tyres that they would actually, the undercut wouldn't work, but it's worked an absolute treat for the M&T driver. Perhaps this is to do with the engine overheating as well. So perhaps because being in this massive train, the engines have overheated to such temperatures of around 135 degrees, I think mine got up to yesterday, so extremely hot, meaning I lost so much time on the straights. So perhaps this is what Louis' sort of assumption was going into the pit lane. It's unfortunate he's got that penalty though, because he could have he is now in an interesting he's now got an interesting opportunity to potentially win this race, but it's kind of been taken away simply because of that factor. As now Black Phoenix and Faz come into the pits, I'm curious to see where they'll come out, considering that Louis got so much time by pitting a lap earlier. How much time will these guys lose pitting 2 laps later than Louis and a lap later than everyone else?
Yes, apologies for the slight interruption. The game decided it didn't like me being in the session with the game, but we are back in now, and you can see Black Phoenix is actually, he's not really lost anything in all that undercut, probably because M Short got himself stuck in a bit of traffic, whereas obviously Louis had some nice free air. So Black Phoenix comes out in 10th position, which is, as it stands, well really, you could say, as it stands, that is a net second place, because he doesn't have any penalties, his teammate doesn't have any penalties. There's 5 seconds at the moment for the 2 cars ahead of him, Pat and Louis, who have both made their pit stops, but it is Joey in the lead of this race now, having a pretty good race, hoping for his best result of the season. Has finished 5th at the Monaco Grand Prix, could only manage a 10th last time out. Both Mercedes did seem to struggle, and Louis definitely here, having a really good race at the moment on those medium tyres. But now how long does he go for? Because I think those drivers behind pitted a bit earlier than everyone might have expected, maybe just by a lap or 2. So do you stretch your mediums out longer to have the fresher softs at the end, or do you therefore have to come in early and just hope that you can still have good pace on maybe 12, 13 laps of soft tyres?
Well, it is a curiosity, isn't it? Because a lot of the medium tyre drivers, they wouldn't come in this lap, of course, but I'm curious to see if any of them do decide to come in quite early. I think there'll be a lot of monitoring of how the guys behind do compared to them. Whether Pat, for example, was making up a lot of time or a short amount of time. And I think there'll also be tracking of penalties, definitely for Joey and Lars, particularly Joey, because he's nice and clear in free air. I think he'll be keeping track of this. But if Pat can't get away from Louis, despite Louis probably having higher engine temperatures, this is literally a major conversation here in this race, because for some reason the temperatures of the engines just heat up to immense temperatures. You lose so much time on the straight. So Joey with the free air right now will be enjoying life on the straights, and he'll be making up all his time on the straights, and through the corners he'll be making up a good amount of time. The only thing holding him back is the freshness of his tyres, which is obviously much worse than Pat's. But once he fits those softs on, he'll be basically free. But the only problem with that is that he's now stuck in the DRS train again, so he's got to get past all these guys, and he's got to rely on his grip. So whether they go long and probably suffer the consequence of being behind a lot more cars, or they come in short and still have the consequence of being stuck behind cars, and then at the end of the day having tyres that potentially will puncture or be worse than the medium tyres, is a bit of a split decision and quite a difficult one to take. And it just depends really on Joey's racecraft. Can he overtake? Maybe. Can he get ahead of these medium tyre drivers enough? Maybe. It's a possibility, but I just don't think they're coming early. I think they will go out a little longer, make the most of these medium tyres, and dash it to the line towards the end.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Chappellele, it looks like my connection woes have passed his way over to him. Lars is just going to be able to get straight past him then and up into second place, but earns himself a penalty while doing that, so that is such a shame. An interesting thing that has come out of those pit stops, though, is Shizun Korne, who will, if he gets in the top 3, I promise we will ask him how you pronounce his name. We didn't realise he'd changed his name until about 10 minutes before the race starts, so I do apologise about that. But he's dropped a long way back off those 2 McLarens, so maybe this is a chance for Faz to get himself ahead.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like with the two long straights, the DRS is going to be very powerful. At the end of them, though, the corners are very tricky to overtake, I've noticed. Because of the nature of them, they're both roughly 90-degree corners. You basically have to be alongside the driver, because really the turning points are roughly going to be the same whether you're on the inside line or the outside line. You don't want to be You don't want to be turning in later because of how tight it is in front. So really, if you're going to make an overtake for Faz, he needs to be alongside Cornet here. As I discovered yesterday, you can't really overtake from behind, and Wei Zhou just going to be the one that suffers, really, or the likely one that suffers. But he's not going to be close enough here. But if Cornet cannot make up the time, he's going to be under a lot of threat from that Renault behind.
Yes, and also an interesting point, the racing point, 20% DRS at the moment, 50% for the Renault behind. He's going to start running out of clipping a long way before we get to turn 2 at the moment, so that is an opportunity for the Renault. He's just lost so much time there in the dirty air. He's about 7 tenths behind coming through the final 2 corners, and that is not ideal whatsoever. What is interesting though is Black Phoenix, if anything, is really putting M-Short under a lot of pressure, and I think M-Short will be glad that he's got the DRS at the moment, just to help him defend, because he's really getting run ragged by his teammates at some points. And you can see Black Phoenix just having to pull out of that slipstream, just having to get some cool air over the tyres into the engine. They don't have cooling fans in F1 engines, it's entirely reliant on the air passing by, and when you're stuck in a train, anyone who's played this game will know those engines get pretty hot indeed. Louis has made a big mistake coming into turn 4. He's gone very deep there. M-Short just not able to take advantage. That might give Pat a bit of breathing space though, if he wants to try and get away.
Yeah, and I think I was about to say that Cornet has reacted to us, but he actually hasn't there. But he is definitely closing in, and he has technically actually reacted to us. He's back in the DRS zone, so really now, is he back in the DRS zone? I keep missing that. He isn't back in the DRS zone, but I think interestingly for Black Phoenix now, he's stuck behind his teammate. This is going to be a real big debate for him, because this is basically, am I getting the podium or not? Because if he does get ahead of M-Short, he's probably definitely getting a podium, but if he sticks behind, there is a slight chance he won't. So it's really going to see if Black Phoenix is going to play the team game, or if he's just going to go all out alone here. But behind him, he's not got any pressure, but I think the problem is these guys need to cool down their engines a lot. They're going to be very, very hot, excluding Pats. Pats is going to be probably fine, and that's probably why Louis cannot catch up. And this is exactly what I meant earlier, why overtaking isn't too often here, because this is one of the tracks where just seriously, the temperatures of the engine go so sky high that the lead car is at such a benefit on the straight. So really, even though second place has the DRS or the ERS in the world, they're not going to close in simply because of how hot their engine is just sitting behind the leader. So that's exactly what's going on, and this is what the problem is doing the reverse strategy here, and why qualifying is more important.
Yes, we've got about a 24-second pit stop loss around this circuit. So at the moment, when Joey pits and put the soft tyres on, we could end up coming out in 17th position, a long way down the order, and have a lot of overtaking to do, even if he wants to end up getting up into the points. Alpha Fazzo has managed to get himself past the racing points. He's now into 11th, maybe looking good for his first podium of the season. We'll see whether he can pull away and maybe just catch up onto this train of 4 cars at the moment. Our championship leader is in there in 9th place at the moment. That is a net 3rd if you discount the penalties. If you count the penalties, he is currently on for win number 5 out of 7 races this season. And when you consider that he's missed one of those races, that is not a bad record whatsoever. Lars, first driver coming in though, off the medium tyres then, onto the softs. Sebvet coming in as well. They'll have to do 13 laps on those tyres. This will be nice and easy for them. They're clearly going for the undercut.
Yeah, I was just looking, Chapaleli's gone down positions. That's because obviously he's lagged out the session. Lars onto soft tyres then, so we'll be seeing how far these guys drop. If it's more than 3 seconds, then Joey's in a bit of trouble, and it definitely is going to be more than 3 seconds. Look at that gap. This is going to be impossible for Joey. This reverse strategy has not worked for these guys, I'm afraid to say. They have dropped back around 5 or even 6 seconds to the drivers ahead, so really this has not worked. They will close in, but what are they closing into? They're closing into a massive DRS train, which they're not going to make up any positions, or not, well, probably not enough positions anyway, to potentially look for a point here. So for Joey, it's going to be a very interesting situation if he wants to get points, and I think he'll be absolutely kicking himself here, because it looked like it could have been a potentially good day, and it's probably gone to a bit of a shady sort of day, probably not knowing what to do next now.
Yes, this DRS train has made things awkward, and also, if you manage to pick up penalties like Pat and Louis have at the moment, you're also in big trouble. If the race finished this time around, Louis would end up dropping behind Benny Traeger in 13th position. He'd lose 8 places just on penalties. That is how close everyone is at the moment. Joey has come in. I imagine we'll be seeing Dynastics and Gonanainen both heading in as well. So that is going to put Pat back into the lead of this race. Can he, though, escape from those cars? And Faz has caught up to the back of the McLarens, and that has dragged everyone else with them. So we've sort of split from that front DRS train and the one behind them. We're back into just one long train at the moment, with Pat at the head of it. 12 laps to go. Louis is second. M-Shot, Black Phoenix, Alpha Faz, Cornet, Cedric, Rakitu, IFR Falk and Benny Traeger, your top 10 drivers at the moment. Grassi just behind it. Chapalele is obviously disconnected. Then it will be Joey, the next car, then coming out in 12th place. Points are definitely still on the cards here, but you might have to pass cars not in the DRS zones. Maybe just think about where else you can do it. Maybe heading into turn 4 could be a good opportunity.
Yeah, it definitely could. Through those corners, of course, you're going to have a lot more grip through that long left-hander, of course. You're going to be feeling more confident around those corners as well. A lot of these fast-speed corners through Sector 2 as well. I do expect Joey to clearly get much closer to Garassi, even possibly even catch up to him by the end of the lap. He's just ahead of him. So really, they're going to have a lot more grip than these medium tyre drivers. However, because of this track's nature, overtaking is not your best friend. The corners which you can overtake are very difficult ones to overtake indeed, and if you want to overtake at most of these corners, you have to be side by side or nothing. And well, I've already explained about the hot temperatures of the engines and everything. With those hot temperatures, it would not work at all. So really, for Joey, it's all about it's all about his ethic for overtaking and his creativity at this point. So Racecraft needs to be on top form if he wants to get anything major out of this race. And well, I talk about major. Perhaps he could steal himself something like a top 8 or even a top 6 if he's lucky.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to rely on just keeping it as clean as possible. Then you can see how close it is at the moment. Lars, fastest lap of the race last time around. Chapalele's AI car comes into the pits. He was sort of in that medium pack, so you'd imagine if it hadn't been for that disconnection, he'd be down in about 12, 13, 4, 14 at the moment. That fastest lap of the race, Lars, was 1.6 seconds than the fastest lap that Pat has managed. So they've clearly got pace on this alternate strategy. You can see how Joey has already closed up onto the back of everyone else. He is running a bit low on fuel, but now that he's in a bit of a train, can maybe save a bit of fuel with some lifting and coasting, use the DRS, use medium mode a bit more, and it is easier to save fuel as the car gets lighter, although conversely, as he's on the softer tyres, will be accelerating a lot earlier out of the corner, so also using a lot more fuel. And we'll just see if we can maybe get a move done here, using the DRS as a bit of a helper, and then just using the extra pace on those tyres, and look at him just cruise past Bahas. Just maybe you need that extra tyre grip to get yourself out of turn 10 and get that move done. Joey is now up into 11th place, back towards the leader zone of the race, on board with MNT Louis. He's still in second place, still just hanging on within DRS range at the moment of Pat. You get the funny feeling as soon as he drops out of that 1 second, a bit what we saw happen to Lakitu last week, M-Short might be all over the back of him.
Yeah, and M-Short really looking quite close. This grid is so close. If you look on the gap to the leaders and everything, excluding the people who've had to pit again, or Chapalele as well, we'll disclude him, there's only 16 seconds between everyone on this grid. There's a 6-second gap between 1st to 13th, for goodness sake. That's insane. Really, at lap 18, that is insane. But this is what is more to come. You'll see in F1 later on this evening how close that would be. In F2, it's probably very close right now. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not watching it, but it's all likely to be very, very close. And really, this is where this track really does have its credits, really, because penalties is quite easy to catch, as shown by a lot of these. If a lot of these drivers on the medium tyres end up falling under pressure and getting a penalty, and Joey does not, Joey's in a very good position, actually, to get something quite remarkable here. But he's right behind 10th place Benny, and oh my goodness, look how much later he's able to brake. So much more confident. He's coming through now. Benny's going to try and defend him, but to be honest with you, with how much later or how much more confident Joey is at braking, it's possibly likely Joey's going to make the move here. Yes, he is. He's going to try for it, and through that corner, it's nice and easy. And because of the tyre grip he's got, he's more confident on the brakes. Up to P10, up you go. And to be honest with you, he is looking in right form right now to look in and reel in the next two cars. But again, this is where the engine temperatures are going to soar up, the tyres are going to wear a little bit more in this dirty air, and this is exactly what's going to be the trouble as well. All these drivers have DRS at the moment, so literally there's going to be no overtaking for Joey until he gets onto the next part of the track, which is grippy, which is this turn 3 corner. So if he gets a good exit out of here, there is a very small chance, if there is a mistake, he could potentially launch an attack on the Red Bull driver, but I don't think he will.
No, he is running a bit low on ERS, and to go back to that point about how close it is, he's currently 4.9 seconds off the leader. So Pat, with that 5 seconds penalty, would drop behind Joey. Lars and Benny now battling for 11th and 12th place. It seems like Joey wakes him up to be overtaken, then Lars tries to make it work down the inside, and he wasn't really far enough alongside Benny there, I'm sorry to say. The Ferrari facing the wrong way, and he's going to drop down to 15th, and I'm almost certain that one will be took to the stewards. No lasting damage done though, so that has obviously cost Lars quite a bit of time and all those cars behind as well. So no chance of a virtual safety car or a safety car. There was no debris, but I don't think he'll be too happy. I don't think Joey will be too happy, who's closing up to Falk, and I think he's going to go for the same move that he's done the lap before, then down the inside very late on the brakes. Be careful that you don't end up hitting it into Cedric here, who's made a big mistake as Cedric. I don't know if he was trying to get out of the way there of his teammate, but that just might have worked out absolutely beautifully for Joey, who was able to go round the outside of Falk and gets himself up into 8th place. He is really pushing hard at the moment. You imagine over the next couple of laps, when he's got that tyre advantage, there's not going to be a lot the drivers ahead can do to stop him coming by into turn 13.
Yeah, he's actually looking quite more confident than what I thought he would have been on those soft tyres. A very, very promising start to the campaign here for Joey on the soft tyres, the first 3 corners, as Pat now loses the lead to Louis. It's quite insignificant for these two. They're both coming back at each other, in fact. They're still going side by side through this corner. Do not make contact with each other. A tad bit of contact, but not enough to really change too much there. Louis takes the lead of Pat, but however, this only really helps M-Shot out, just keeping within the battle. He did lose a little bit of time to these two, but again, he's closed back into him, but really it's not really going to be that relevant anymore, since those guys are just going to tumble down the field when it comes to their penalties getting removed. I'm very intrigued to see what Joey can do now, because these are the corners which he will make up a lot of time compared to the guys ahead. And there you go, as you can see, almost a 1/10 and a half, probably over almost 2 attempts now he's made on Lakitu here. But the problem is at this time he's not close enough to make the diving move he made on Falcon. You know, he may get the luck of Cedric, but unfortunately the luck probably won't reel in as much. So Joey's just going to sit behind for now. And to be fair, he's had a lot of time to reflect, and he's had a lot of time to cool down, and he'll be back at it again probably next lap. Yeah,
Lars is back at it again now, down the inside on Cedric there, heading into turn 15, and that is 10th place for the racing point, up into the point. Simon picks up another penalty. Fair play to him for just carrying on out there at the moment, because unless there's a big accident happening right now and the safety car comes out, even then, can't really imagine with those penalties that he has got 12 seconds, he's really going to get anything out of this race. But Louis has got himself into the lead on track with 7 laps to go, working his way ahead of Pat, despite having those 1 lap older tyres. M-Short is in 3rd place. We've got another yellow flag. I think that was just Simon having a moment there, and I think he has broken his front wing, so maybe if anyone is going to see a safety car, it might end up being Simon causing it at the moment. He does seem to be struggling around this track. M-Short's just doing the right thing. As long as he stays within DRS range of these two in front, he's won the race. He doesn't have to push stupidly hard at any point.
No, he doesn't. And well, I guess his only threat really is now his teammate, who's not really going to attack him, and Joey at the moment, because I can't see Faz really making him enough time. It's Escorne going wide off the track there. I think he's gone a little bit through from that curve on the left-hand side. Cedric's out of the race. I don't know what's happened there. You talked about the safety car. That's an awkward position. There's your safety car. So this is going to be interesting now. Are these guys going to feel the need to pit? Because this is a rather interesting one, how close everyone is. I think this is more down to who's been watching the stream, who's been knowing where everyone is really, because the front runners, they're probably a little bit oblivious of how close Joey is to them at the moment. So I'm very curious to see, unless of course they've got full trap map, then they'll probably be quite knowledgeable of it. But anyway, Louis comes into the pits. Does Pat do the same? Yes, they do. So they get rid of their penalties, and obviously they'll have the tyre advantage. But annoyingly, they'll be at the back of the grid because everyone's staying out now. But this boosts Joey's chances up to 5th place now. So he only has to get past 4 guys, saves his tyres, but loses a lot of time in the process to get these moves done.
I mean, the one thing that might be on his advantage is that there's not going to be any DRS for the next couple of laps, which admit he won't have it either. But we've already seen, even if the car in front has DRS, he's able to get ahead. He's able to have that grip on the soft tyres, and this will cool them down ever so slightly. He'll have the better tyre warm-up once the safety car comes in, so maybe don't count Joey out of this yet. Cornet is in 6th place, Lars in 7th, and their penalties now become really costly. Only 3 seconds, but there'll be, what, at best 4 laps, maybe even only 3 laps left once the safety car comes in, depending on how quickly the pack gets up to the back of each other. It's going to be really hard for them to pull a gap on the penalties. Gavassi also decided to stay out. Dynastics and Gonanainen are now up into the points. Louis dropping all the way down to 11th, which, to be honest, with the penalties, probably wasn't far off where he would have been anyway. He's now got an advantage of soft tyres, as have Pat, Sebvet, Falk, Benny Traeger. Chapalele, of course, is out of the race, and Simon. Simon has not gone a lap down while all that was happening, so he is right up onto the back of the pack all of a sudden. He's got a load of penalties, but this is why you carry on going. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, brilliant commitment though from Simon. I have to give him that. Obviously to stay in this race. I'm intrigued now, to be honest with you, and I'm going to say this now. It's a very good decision from Louis and Pat to get rid of them penalties, because obviously those two were aware of how close the pack was, which is a good thing, because they wouldn't have been in the points probably in the first place if the race did finish on that lap, or they would have at least been close to being outside the points. So now with the fresh tyres, they're going to be obviously going to the end. They're probably going to be better than Gunnanans and Dynastics, so they could probably get rid of them. But not only that, they've got the medium runners of both Cornet and Garassi. I'm talking about Cornet because he's got a penalty, and of course Lars as well, let's not forget him. Because those two have got penalties, they're probably not going to get points here today, unfortunately. And also Garassi on the medium tyres, exposed because those tyres have worn out really, well, they're not worn out completely, but they're going to be worn out enough really to show a good pace advantage. And the same with the soft tyres, they're going to have a pace advantage to the mediums, but they're not going to be too significant as what Lewis and Pat's is. So be sure to watch those two rise up, and I wonder what sort of attitude and what sort of mood they're in to really make the overtakes, because they'll really need to get them done nice and quickly if they want to get a really high result here today.
Yes, you can see everyone in the background just weaving to warm their tyres up. Simon is currently heading around the final sector as the safety car is just taking the field around turn 3, so I think he will catch them up on this lap, but whether it's in time enough for the safety car decide to come into the pits, I'm not quite sure. And it is quite an awkward safety car restart, because obviously the start-finish line is so early on. No matter what M Short does, he's going to give his teammate an absolutely wonderful slipstream all the way towards turn 2.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued just to see how this restarts. It could be anyone's. I think Joey particularly just needs to get his good restart, to be honest. If he gets a good restart, and yeah, we talk about the long run down at the starts. This is a rolling start, as my whole thing just went completely collapsed because a cat jumped off the side. But Joey at the moment in 5th place, he'll be enjoying it, but he would need a good restart because he hasn't lost the threat of Cornet, but Cornet is unlikely to attack him on the worst tyres, on the mediums. But Joey, he'll be looking for a good restart, and with those soft tyres, if they are up to normal temperature, he'll be enjoying them a lot. As my feelings in the background, if you heard that. But yeah, I reckon safety car's in this lap because Simon's now coming up to the back here. What a sort of opportunity this is for Simon. Don't think he'll get points here, but he'll be quite happy that he probably gets a few battles in today.
Yes, I think it will be indeed. It would not surprise me as we do get our safety car in this lap, and we're on the internet, Sam. Cats are what the internet was invented for, let's be perfectly honest. Not all this clever scientific stuff, it's all about the cat pictures. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more retirements in this race. Safety cars quite often breed safety cars, and with 4 laps to go, our championship leader is in the lead of this race. He's got his teammate behind him. His main rival is in 4th, just behind his teammate Alpha Faz, who's on for his best result of the season. There is so much intrigue with this race safety car restart, and M Short has decided to go out of the penultimate corner, and I think that is probably the best idea. Not a bad restart whatsoever. He's got a bit of a run on some of these guys. So we are back to green flag racing. Black Phoenix will hang on to second. These gaps are really forming in the field. Girassi trying to get a run on Lars at the moment, just not able to do so. Dynastics, he's got the soft tyres, but he comes up to the back of Gunnan and sent one up the inside of turn 2. There was no way he was making that work, and Louis has managed to get ahead of him. Pats has as well. Pats, of course, getting involved in a bit of turn 2 antics last time around at the restart of the race. Not quite the same result this time. Can he go round all the way around the outside of Louis? He's giving it a try. The Red Bull's got the inside though for the next part of the track for turn 5 here, and Louis hangs on to that 10th place. That penalty could be quite costly now for Pat. Any chances he's got of getting good points might have just gone out the window. Perfect restart though by our championship leader, still in the lead of this race. Black Phoenix still behind. We didn't see any position changes in the top 9. It was only Gonanainen's dive bomb on Dynastics from about 10-20 metres back into the braking zone. It was absolutely no chance of making the move, but Lars does get ahead of his teammate. Maybe, just maybe, that was an orchestrated swap as Joey down the inside of Lakita. He's still got the extra grip on those soft tyres. He makes that move, and Girassi also getting ahead of the racing point of Cornet. That penalty plus those older medium tyres really making him struggle when he's offline. Joey's got a really great chance of getting a podium here.
Yeah, he really does. He's right behind Faz now. He'll be focusing on the exit here. It's a long, long straight here. I wonder if he'll break in later. Yes, he will. So he will be looking on his exit. Not the greatest of exits. Yellow flag in sector 3. That's Pat out. What's happened to Pat at the back there? He's gone straight to the wall. I don't even know what's happened there. To the German driver. He's out of this race. It's quite very unfortunate for him. A little bit of a gap between Joey and Faz now on the podium. I think a win would be very optimistic for Joey, but I definitely think a podium is on right now through that sector 2 for those very quick left and right hand corners. He does make up a lot of time there, so I'm very intrigued to see how he does there. And he looks like he's built this setup for the straights, it looks like, because he did close in on the key too quickly and got past him and dispatched him fairly quickly as well. So I'm very intrigued to see what the Mercedes can do towards the end of this race, but at the moment it is looking likely for a McLaren 1-2 and an M Short first and a Black Phoenix second.
Yes, and this is going to be big news in the championship. It's 13 points at the moment between M Short and Lakitu. If things stay as they are, that gap will increase to 23 points, more than a race win. There are still, of course, 5 races to go this season, but you really, if you were Lakitu, you'd really want to start closing that gap rather than see it extending at this point in time. No one really looking close enough to have a go into turn 13 this time around. Cornet's had an absolute nightmare of a restart. He had a half a chance of a podium before the safety car came in. He's now down in 13th. He's managed to pick up another penalty. Gonanainen has picked up a few corner cutting penalties, so I think the Alfa Romeo driver is starting to make up his own circuit at this moment in time. DRS is enabled, and as you can see from that club, he was making his own circuit up. It's starting to get a bit overcast around here as well. I don't think we're going to get any rain, and that's going to be the last thing on everyone's mind at the moment as Simon comes into the pits, as does Gonanainen, perhaps going for that fastest lap point. Dynastics gets his way ahead of Girassi, and maybe Louis is going to go around the outside of the pair of them at turn 2 here. Great move from Louis. He's picked up a penalty in doing so. Is he able to hold on to that place? Yes, he is, and the Haas is going to try and get involved in this, even if he's on the medium tyres. Will he be able to go back down the inside of the Red Bull? Not really a lot of space left there by Louis. There's a bit more afters with that. It's getting very spicy all of a sudden, this race, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I was rather surprised Girassi went back at him on those older medium tyres, which obviously Louis now through this sector, he's going to benefit so much. Look how much he's got away already. I was very surprised he went for the move there, Girassi, but getting your elbows out is what you need to do. As Seb Vet behind, I was watching from behind. He's getting his fists out a little bit with Falk there. Falk's got a bit of wing damage. That's probably going to be his day over, including with the penalty he's got. Benny now looking for a good performance. He's now right in the back of Seb Vet, really starting to spice up in the penultimate lap of this race. And again, another Haas really really tried to send it later than the Ferrari, but it's just not worked. Benny around the outside, nice move from him. He's into the points then, and he's likely to probably finish there in the end. But Garassi there, getting his elbows out on Louis, but Louis just about escaping, and Louis just knows what he needs to do now. He needs to find a lot of time if he wants to look at today getting himself that 7th place, because at the moment the penalty has still cost him quite dearly for now, and he will move down 2 or 3 positions. So he knows what he needs to do, get his head down, and without any ERS, it's just not going to work, is it, at the moment?
No, it's not. He will still get points as Benny now gets a penalty as well, so that's 1 less position Louis will drop down. He will, as it stands, go to 9th place, but this is very interesting indeed. This is going to be a very interesting end to the race, and I think the stewards are going to have a bit to say about it as well. Lars getting very close to the back of Lakitu all of a sudden, so he's found some pace on these older soft tyres, perhaps just being a bit of free air, whereas Joey and some of the others have been struggling ever so slightly. So maybe we are still going to see some overtakes. That penalty though for Lars, well, actually, he's more than 3 seconds ahead of Gavassi at the moment. I'm not sure how many penalties he's got. It is only 3 seconds, so maybe, just maybe, if he keeps this up, he will end up finishing in 6th place at worst. Maybe even more if we see some afters with any of the drivers up ahead. Joey, whoa! Joey's had a big... Oh, sorry, I think there was a bit of lag on my screen there. Joey had a massive moment on my screen and binned it into the wall. Thankfully for him, that is not what happened. The 2 Ferraris are battling for 9th and 10th place. Benny getting ahead of Dynastics, and Dynastics picking up a penalty in all of that. But he's kept a calm head once again, crossing the line to take his 5th victory of the season. It is M Short, and it's a 1-2 for the McLaren team. Black Phoenix in 2nd, Faz is 3rd, Joey still gained places on the alternate strategy, couldn't quite do enough to get on the podium. He's 4th, then Lakitu, Lars, Louis, Garassi, Benny, Dynastics, Falk, Cornet, Sebvet, Chapalele, of course. Who knows what he could have done if it wasn't for that disconnection. Simon will be the last finisher across the line. It wasn't the most interesting of races until that safety car happened, and then all hell broke loose.
It was one of those predictable races until then, and to be honest with you, again, excluding the winner, I think it is quite a bit of a mix-up of positions there. Black Phoenix getting his first podium, Faz getting his first podium, Joey getting his first 4th place of the season. He's been eyeing up a high performance, but his inconsistency has shown to kind of bring in a bit more consistency as he's getting points in on the weekly now. It's his 3rd race in the road to get points, and he'll be happy with that 4th place. It moves him up a few places in the championship. But good return for Faz, by the way. He has not raced in 3 races, and before then had a DNF, but he's had a bit of a poor start to the season as well, despite finishing in the highest position out of anyone, finishing 3rd in F2 that was last season. And he's back on the podium, the Brazilian driver, and I think he'll enjoy this podium, and he'll take this one, and he'll get onto the next race and get his head down and hopefully push up for a higher position. But it's been all about the McLaren team today. Black Phoenix, a brilliant performance. He's returned to the podium for the first time since last season, where he was on the podium quite frequently. And M Short again with another victory. When is this dominance going to stop? It's very, very Calsper-esque, and I think this is exactly what the McLaren team's been doing in F3, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely since we took over F3, McLaren have just dominated. I don't seem to remember, though, him getting a 1-2 when it was Calsper and Toxic, but that's what M Short and Black Phoenix have managed to do. Faz with his first podium of the season. Joey, the alternate strategy, still managing to get his best result of the season so far in 4th. Lakitu 5th, Lars 6th, Louis in 7th, Gavassi and the Ferraris of Benny and Dynastics finishing off the points. Then it was Falk, Cornet, Sebvet, Chapalele was disconnected, Simon, Gonainen retired in the pits, Pat had a crash through the final corner, and then we saw Cedric, that was the retirement that caused the crash. Boss retired in the pits earlier as well. An interesting end to the race, and a familiar result.
Yeah, very familiar result, and yeah, I was kind of surprised about this race. It was so close, really, wasn't it? I was kind of disappointed there wasn't more penalties, to be honest. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but you know, what if this race was just infested with all these different penalties and all these guys having different penalties? Someone having 9 seconds, one having 3 seconds, and another one having 12 seconds, and they were leading or something. just imagine the mix up it would have had. And I think that would have this race really did show that the cleanest drivers win at the end of the day, and a lot of them kept their heads clean, but some of them just didn't, and because of that, they lost a lot from it. But yeah, as we saw, the top four really getting no penalties. I think the highest up penalty finisher probably was someone like eighth place. So um, and that just shows I don't think anyone finished who got a penalty. I think everyone who didn't get a penalty actually finished ahead of someone who did get a penalty. So that just shows how close the whole grid was today.
I mean, yeah, definitely. So close. And we said again, a familiar result. And it was M Shot getting the win. He's now 23 points ahead. 23 points ahead in the championship. That is a big, big gap, let's be honest. And I know there's still quite a bit of the season to go, 5 races, but you'd imagine, unless something happens with the form he's in, you'd imagine he's just going to take this title.
Yeah, I reckon he will do now. I mean, Lakita's given it a really good shot here, but today he was a little bit sluggish, really, in qualifying. I felt like he didn't really impact from qualifying to the race, and unlike M Short did, M Short just got on with it and snap bang, he's at the front again. While Lakita was just stuck in the midfield all day today, and it was kind of a bit of a where has he gone performance for Lakita, really. Although finishing fifth, he was he's a little bit up and down today, and I think because he finished fifth, this has lost him a lot of ground in the championship, and well, because of that, unfortunately, I think it might be a little bit of a long shot now in the championship. He'll need M Short, in my opinion, to finish outside the points at least in one race to at least close that gap in. And if that was the case, he would really need to take the win in that race as well.
Yes, he will indeed. We are just going to wait and see if any of our top 3 fancy coming in for an interview. We talked about M Shot, obviously. We know he always does a fantastic race. Black Phoenix and Faz. Faz has been missing for a bit, but Black Phoenix, great performance today, and at times it looked like he was faster than his teammates. Just the DRS train obviously makes it so hard to overtake.
Yeah, and I think that team game as well, they were perhaps playing as well. I'm not sure if Black Phoenix and M Shot are good friends, but they sound like it. M Shot seems like a nice, friendly guy sort of thing. Same with Black Phoenix, of course. So I reckon they probably are communicating with each other. But I mean, at the end of the day, that McLaren team, I think literally, if they were talking to each other, they were just saying, you know, let's just work this out, right? I'm leading the championship, and I need to go further ahead of Lakitu, and you're on for your first podium today. I think we could just settle for this and have a 1-2 and absolutely boss it in the constructors. I think they've not done something like Red Bull would have done. I wouldn't have thought they would have gone to battle out all out like they would have when Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel were together. But yeah, they just brought it home for a 1-2 victory, and I think that really was just a plan for them to. And if they were in a party together or communicating with each other, I'm pretty sure that's probably what they would have been saying, to be honest.
Yes, it did work out very well. We have got our race winner then in the commentary box for the 5th time this season. It is M Short who takes the victory. Another brilliant performance from yourself. You kept it cool when so many around you didn't get any penalties, and you didn't pit when the safety car came out. Were you ever thinking at any point when you saw the safety car, I'm going to put the soft tyres on, or were you always confident that you could make it last on the mediums?
Yeah, well, there's not much tyre wear around Russia, so I wasn't too worried about my tyres being too slow. And I saw Pat and Louis pit, but they must have came out dead last or something. So I thought there's no point doing that because track position is so much more important if you just can't get through the train. And so yeah, I was going to stay out no matter what they did, because even if they did stay out, I would have, unless Phoenix passed me, I would have still got first with the penalties. But yeah, just had to keep it clean. Didn't have any warnings, and yeah, just no mistakes that race. That was good.
Phoenix definitely looked as though he was putting you under pressure at various points in that race. Did he actually ever try to go for the overtake, or did he play the good teammate role and just stick behind?
Yeah, a few times he down the main straight he would use his overtake, but because in the most of the race I was in DRS as well, so it was pretty impossible for him to get past. But then there was one time he did get pretty close and into like turn 3 and 4, but I just managed to keep it in front and stay in the DRS. So yeah, that's all that I really needed to do.
You're now 23 points ahead at the top of the championship. Still obviously a long way to go, but that's with missing one race as well. Lakitu's been here for every single race. You're feeling pretty good about your title chances, I imagine.
Yeah, it's starting to come into view now. What, 5 races left? Is it 4 or 5, something like that? So yeah, but obviously just got to focus on each race as it goes and just keep picking up the points.
Well, you've done it today. Another fantastic victory, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
It doesn't look, unfortunately, like we are going to get... well, Faz says he doesn't have a mic, so we don't think we're going to get him. And Black Phoenix, we have invited him, but he's not coming in. I imagine maybe celebrating his first podium of the season a bit too much. It's good to see some different guys up there, but that's what we've seen all season, Sam. That battle for second place, so many different drivers getting involved, but mainly you've had M-Short taking the victory, and on the odd occasion, obviously, Lakitu getting there as well.
Yeah, and I think this is what we've seen about F3, really. Every league in PSGL is literally just like real life F2 and F3. It's usually just having that unpredictable leader, unpredictable second place all the time. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, we have the same winner. But despite the winner, we do have a lot of different podium sitters now this season. Lakita's been on the podium quite frequently. He didn't get on it today, but we've seen Cedric get on the podium, Zach, who's not here anymore, get on the podium, Lars, Louis, Benny Traeger, Chapelele, I think, got on the podium. Yes, he has. Ferreira, of course, got on the podium. Hasn't been here for the last couple of weeks, and he's had a bit of poor performances. We've obviously seen Name Changer, who's no longer here, unfortunately. Simon, I'm just going through all of them. Black Phoenix, of course, now on the podium finally. And we've just had a lot of podium sitters, haven't we, this season? And it's really exciting to see. But it is kind of just unfortunate that we've just seen the same winner again, which gives us that Lewis Hamilton vibe. But at the end of the day, there's no one we can really blame, can we, for it at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, it's everyone's doing to either, sweat out or not, or go for the championship or not. And it's obviously M-Short's ability to perform on race day, which has gained him such an advantage in the championship.
Yes, it has indeed. As we were saying, he's now 23 points ahead, and McLaren, they'll have extended their gap quite a lot at the top as well, getting that 1-2. Renault will still be in second place, although the gap will have increased quite significantly. And we've had a track with a lot of 90-degree corners tonight where there's not a lot of tyre wear. Singapore has a lot of 90-degree corners. There is absolutely tons of tyre wear around there. That alternate strategy that Joey tried tonight, he could easily get a win if he tries the same thing next time around.
Oh, yeah, definitely at Singapore. Singapore's an interesting track. I'm very intrigued to see what people go for, because the Sauce are definitely not favoured. So I'm very intrigued to see what the strategies will be there. But the alternate strategy is likely to be outside the top 10, hard to... I don't know if they will go hard to solve, hard to medium, but also with the threat of rain at that track, there is likely chances of that. But I genuinely think that he did a really good job today, Joey. But if he has shown what he showed today throughout the whole season, if he had the opportunities to, I really do think he would have been on for more podiums and perhaps would have been fighting for a little bit more than what it would be right now, a top 5 finish in the championship.
I mean, yes, I think it was Monaco. He had a disconnection as well. But he still managed to get a fantastic finish. 5th place was his best finish before tonight, but would definitely have done better. As you can see there, it is Singapore next time around, then USA, Mexico, Abu Dhabi, and Japan finishing off the season on the 8th of March. And unless something changes, unless we start seeing a few more drivers come up with the form M-Short is in at the moment, I imagine he is going to be the one taking the title. If you want to see some more action, though, from the Russian Grand Prix, if you've not had enough of the Sochi circuit, head over now quickly to PSGL F1. Matthias, Blizzard, Sparks, Christmas, Jordan, Juiced, Ferrari, Recon Diamond, and Dylan Warren, your top 10, as they're just on the formation lap as well. Singapore action will start with Formula Performance on Tuesday, the lower leagues on Thursday, mid leagues on Sunday, and the top leagues and the known assists on Monday once again. Me and Sam will be there at 7 p.m. Thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for Sam for joining me in the comms box. Thanks for M-Short for his interview. Thanks to TRT Esports as well, who provide a prize fund to the winners of our top tiers. And we will see you next time around for the Singapore Grand Prix. Have a very good evening.